Now at 6, the investigation into how a local family of 8 died after their SUV plunged off a California cliff.
The vehicle got brought straight up and flipped onto its roof, so unfortunately it got more damage.
How a group of jurors is determining how they died.
Plus, cyclists say a local stretch of road dubbed the Dirty 30 is pushing them dangerously close to traffic.
We fix a lot of flat tires for people. It's really common.
What they're finding on the St. John's Bridge.
And proposed changes to how renters screen criminal tenants is drawing a lot of controversy in Portland. How you can now weigh in.
Live from the Coin Center in downtown Portland, this is Coin 6 News. Watching out for you.
Constructing a new I-5 bridge is something drivers in both Oregon and Washington have wanted for years. Now lawmakers are hoping to jumpstart the conversations. It is 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Gianola.
And I'm Jennifer Hoff. Let's start with our Jennifer Dowling, who's live in North Portland with more on the details on when these talks might resume. Jim?
Well, things could kick off as early as July 1st if Washington lawmakers decide to move forward. This bridge is 100 years old, and this time of day, you can really see the taillights there. It becomes a traffic nightmare. Governor Brown calling the congestion here a threat to Oregon's economy.
The traffic is abominable. I rarely go into Portland now for the day just because I find the traffic is just untenable.
Vancouver residents who've gotten stuck in congestion on the I-5 bridge are ready for change.
It seems to be worse getting from the on-ramp, getting down from downtown onto the bridge. We just kind of sit there and sit there.
Oregon Governor Kate Brown called it some of the worst gridlock in the nation. Now the two states appear to be poised to begin talks again if Washington lawmakers agree to fund a new bridge project office.
We're waiting to see whether or not the Washington legislature recommends funding, and we'll wait and see if how the governor signs that into law.
The mayor of Vancouver says she's hopeful that talks will resume again after Washington state failed to fund it 5 years ago.
We're sorry that we lost it. Now we're excited that Oregon is coming back and that the governors have gotten together to help get this going.
The mayor says that currently traffic gets backed up on the bridge for up to 9 hours a day. Clark County Councilor John Blum says the congestion has caused some businesses to think twice before expanding or moving to Clark County.
That choke point is a major concern both for moving goods and services back and forth.
Blum says the county is supportive of reopening the talks.
We passed a resolution earlier this year supporting some legislation that would reopen the discussion.
Mike Farber feels that a light rail proposal stopped many from supporting the project 5 years ago. He hopes any future talks are more productive this time around.
Light rail is going to need to happen. The federal government's going to help funding if we provide that, and I think we should get over that and understand that it's got to be part of the project.
There's a monetary incentive to move forward on this as well. Both states could lose money. They'll face $280 million in maintenance costs by 2040, and if they don't renew talks for a bridge by September, they'll have to repay $130 million to the federal government. So some big incentives there for things to change here at the Interstate Bridge. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer Dowling with an update on the bridge. Thank you, Jennifer. Officials now sharing details of the deaths of the Hart family a year after they plunged over a California cliffside. Today, the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office began a coroner's inquest into the deaths of Jennifer and Sarah Hart and their 6 adopted children. Trevor Ault shares what they've learned so far and what we're finding out. Trevor?
Yeah, Jeff, well, this is really the conclusion of an extensive multi-state investigation into a story that's captivated us since last March. And today we have heard from multiple law enforcement officers, a search and rescue leader, and a forensic pathologist as a group of 14 jurors will try to decide the manner of death for the Hart family.
It's now been a year since the Hart family plunged over the cliffside off Highway 1, hundreds of miles from their Clark County home. And today at the coroner's inquest, officers described this scene with no traces of stopping at the edge as unlike anything they'd witnessed before.
I've responded to quite a few collisions on the coast area and vehicles down the cliffs, and it was very unusual to have no evidence of any kind.
The testimony included several graphic details of the conditions of each recovered body. The the process of recovering them.
The vehicle got brought straight up and flipped onto its roof, so unfortunately it got more damaged, and then I saw one of the decedents that was in the driver's seat fall from the vehicle along with a bag.
Much of the day was spent with forensic pathologist Dr. Greg Pizarro, who methodically worked through the lacerations and the broken bones. He said based on his toxicology report, the driver, Jennifer Hart, had an alcohol level above the legal limit, and also confirmed several other family members had unusually high amounts of Benadryl in their system, including a toxic level for the other parent, Sarah.
It appears that it's well beyond the recommended therapeutic dose. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's fair to say.
The day concluded by beginning to document the multiple times the Harts have been reported to Child Protective Services, including in Clark County by their neighbors in the days before the family died.
Now, today's testimony wrapped up at about 3:15. It will resume again tomorrow. Today was just the first day of this inquest. It's expected to take several over the rest of the week before the jury can reach their conclusion. And we'll, of course, be following along live as it all unfolds. Reporting live tonight, Trevor Ault, KOIN 6 News.
All right, Trevor, we've been following this story since we first learned of the crash back in March of last year. You can read all of our stories about the family, including reports about their child welfare investigation and what we've learned about the children's biological families. It's all at KOIN.com.
Tonight, the search is on for a 17-year-old girl who's missing out of Washington County. Adelima Morales Ramirez, who goes by Beatrice, disappeared last night about 7 o'clock. She was at her aunt's house near Southwest TV Highway and Southwest 331st. Beatrice is from Guatemala and has only been in the United States for about 3 weeks. If you've seen her, you are asked to call Washington County deputies.
A former baggage handler at PDX just pleaded guilty to stealing 6 guns from 5 different checked bags. 27-year-old Deshaun Kelly is said to have taken the guns over a 4-week period last year. Police arrested him at the airport in late September, and he admitted to taking the guns. A judge will now issue Kelly's sentencing on July 29th. He could face up to 50 years in prison.
A hit-and-run investigation forces a lockout at David Douglas High School this morning. Police say a Subaru hit a Toyota Tacoma at East Burnside and 139th, damaging it. And then just after that, police officers found that Subaru unoccupied and empty, so they set up a perimeter. They found a woman who was then a passenger in the car, then used a police dog to track down the driver to a recycling bin behind a home. That's where the driver was hiding. Police also found a gun, and they tell us that Subaru was in fact stolen.
Cyclists say the stretch of Highway 30 connecting to the St. John's Bridge is a rough stretch of road. Construction vehicles, gravel trucks, and loads of scrap drive that route, dropping hazardous material along the way.
And ODOT officials say that it can be especially tough this time of year because they're just now starting to sweep after the winter months. Our Emily Burris is live in North Portland tonight, digging deeper, though, because there's one neighbor out there, Emily, who has a pretty great solution.
Yeah, guys, well, what started as one man's pretty simple idea to clean up part of his neighborhood, the St. John's Bridge, turned into actually a very stunning example of just how many hazards pedestrians and cyclists can face on busy roadways.
Probably about 200 nails and screws, tons of brake pad dust, saw blades, a wrench, lighter, lug nuts.
20 pounds of scrap pulled from the shoulders of the St. John's Bridge with a magnet and a ski pole.
It's been on my mind for like a couple weeks, just trying to think of what I can do to help around town.
The idea came to Brian Jensen after he saw firsthand how much hazardous scrap metal was falling onto the bridge just around the corner from his home.
Just jogging back and forth and noticing lots of nails along the road.
So he thought he could do something about it.
Just had this laying around and taped them together.
One pass with the magnet and his pockets were overflowing. ODOT officials say this time of year can get particularly bad because maintenance crews are just starting to clear roads and clean debris that they don't sweep during the winter, a problem some cyclists know all too well.
So it's a dangerous situation. Look, we're quite fortunate that there's not more tragedy than there is. People are getting flats from the rough rocks or the nails and the scrap metal falling off the trucks, and just it's dirty highway to ride on.
For runners, cyclists, even cars, Jensen says he's just taking pride in his town.
We're losing that sense of community and sense of ownership.
And owning little problems that can have a big impact. So right now, ODOT is working on lots of different spring cleaning projects. They're repairing guardrails, they're fixing potholes, and they're sweeping a lot of those roads that haven't been swept since winter. They say they want you to report any hazards on the roadways if you see them, so they know they need to come out and clean it up. We've got a link for you to report anything on our website. Just go to this story at KOIN.com. Reporting live in North Portland, Emily Burris, KOIN 6 News.
Good story, Emily. Thank you. The Portland City Council is asking for public input on a proposed change now to the renter screening process. The ordinance, introduced by Commissioner Chloe Udaly, would simplify the screening process for renters. Now, she says that currently it disproportionately affects those with criminal backgrounds and people of color. The hearing officially started today, but only those invited to speak could actually testify. But tomorrow there will be a hearing where the public can actually testify. And it was certainly a big day for Oregon as Chief Justice Martha Walters swore in the newest Secretary of State, Bev Clarno.
I, Beverly Ann Clarno. I, Beverly Ann Clarno. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. That I will support.
Now, with this oath, Clarno makes Oregon history because this is the first time women have held 4 of the 5 statewide elected offices. They include Governor, Attorney General, Labor Commissioner, and now the Secretary of State, with the exception of the State Treasurer. The women posed today for this historic photo op.
Still to come, a national bridge report just released is shedding some light on flaws in Oregon bridges. How many in the state are considered deficient?
And TriMet getting ready to create a new overpass for cyclists and pedestrians. Why they decided to build it.
And we found loads of sunshine right here in the gorge. A view from Skamania looking out over the Columbia River. Now, this coming weekend, a big soaker on the way. We'll talk about that coming up after the break.
A new national report on bridges reveals hundreds here in Oregon need repairs. The report is from the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. It shows out of more than 8,000 bridges right here in Oregon, a little over 400 are considered structurally deficient, meaning one of the key elements is in poor or worse condition. But it doesn't mean you can't drive over them. And one of the most traveled of the structurally deficient bridges right here in downtown Portland, the Morrison Bridge.
Our investments are mostly driven by defects in condition rather than just the age of the bridge.
Nationwide, Oregon ranks number 32 for the most needed bridge repairs. Iowa is number 1. We checked the numbers on Washington's bridges as well. There are 382 considered deficient in that state, slightly fewer than Oregon.
And TriMet is moving ahead with its plan to build the Gideon Street overcrossing. The project, estimated at about $15 million, will create a bridge for pedestrians and cyclists over the Freight and Max Orange lines in southeast Portland. The bridge will span from southeast 14th to southeast 13th, and TriMet says that both sides will have an elevator and a staircase. Work is set to begin this month, and it should last for about a year.
A judge has now issued a ruling in a lawsuit over Oregon's Cascade Siskiyou National Monument. While in office, President Obama expanded the swath of land in southern Oregon, nearly doubling its size to more than 150 square miles. Well, timber companies brought 3 lawsuits saying the expansion deprived them of timber. But the judge just ruled against the suit, saying President Obama did not exceed his authority.
Okay, Natasha is back now, and we are talking rain, especially on Friday, with wind, too.
It's big time wind. One of those windy days where if you have patio furniture, you have those loose garbage cans, you want to kind of round them up.
Buckle it down.
Yes, but today's so nice out there. Your temperature is a little bit above normal. And yeah, sometimes with the nice weather comes the allergies. Oh. This is actually going to improve here at the end of the week when we get more rain, but the tree pollen is pretty high right now. This morning, our low temperature at PDX was 54 degrees. Our record low for the day, 48. So we maxed out above 48 degrees. So another record-setting day for us for a morning low temperature that was at its maximum. 60 degrees right now, Portland. This temperature, not a record breaker, just a little bit above normal by a degree or two. No big deal here. Tomorrow could be even warmer depending on the timing of the next system. We'll talk about that in just a second. 34 degrees now, Mount Hood Meadows. That's right. 34 now at 5,000 feet. Those snow levels come down even more so tomorrow. And then the next day, so by the time we start the weekend, we could have snow falling as low as about 4,500 feet, so just above most of our mountain passes. 53 degrees for you seaside, and you can see some darker clouds out on the horizon, so a possibility of seeing some light showers right here, even at the coast. Lincoln City, temperatures also in the mid-50s here. We'll start to see some rain here shortly as well. Now going over to the Coast Range, isolated showers draping over a portion of the Coast Range, but again, this is very isolated. You can see most of the map. We're dry. The only other exception, a little bit further to the east, closer to the Idaho border, you have some isolated showers out that direction. Now, what's next for us? Well, here's tomorrow. This is tomorrow's next system. Here we go, Friday and then Saturday. They're all lined up like airplanes getting ready to land. So we are expecting several inches of rain, but how much exactly? We're going to time that out for you here in just a second. Focusing on tomorrow morning when we get our next round of rain. So areas south of Portland see it first. By 8 o'clock in the morning, now we're starting to see the rain move a little bit farther to the north. Now here's the big time stuff. Now this means we're going to see a little bit of a break, probably about your lunch hour before we have some heavier showers arrive. All this coming up from the south, a stronger southerly flow. We get to Friday. Here's our next system. More rain. Lower snow levels, again, right around 5,000, possibly down to 4,500 feet. But it's the wind along the coast that will be the strongest initially and then spreading further to our inland valleys. A wind won't be quite as strong on Saturday, but it certainly will be a wet one for us, including, more snow for our local mountains. How much could we see? Well, let's first start with the rain totals. Initially, Friday could get an inch of rain. By the time we get to Saturday, even more rain could give us an additional inch. So totals for a 3-day period, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 inches possible. Most of that falling near the coastline. Now for our wind speed, you'll notice it starting to ramp up just a little bit by tomorrow evening. So by the time we get to Friday morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, now we're getting gusts between about 30 to 35 miles per hour at the coastline. Inland valleys up to 30 to 35 by the time we get to the middle of the day, and those winds just keep going, possibly up to 40 to 45 miles per hour for us early Saturday morning. And offshore, even stronger winds expected. Saturday, we expect those winds to still be there. However, won't be quite as strong. We'll see some improvements by the time we get to late Saturday night. So here's your 7-day forecast. Tomorrow's highs, low 60s with that rain, especially heavy in the afternoon and evening. Friday, windy, rainy, and a little bit cooler.
Yeah, this is our spring rain.
Sure.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
here.
Thanks.
And all next week, too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Natasha. We'll be right back, everybody. And stay with us, because coming up tonight on KOIN 6 News at 11 o'clock, we are honoring the people who saved a baby during a medical emergency at a local mall, and it was all caught on camera. So we'll take you to that special ceremony tonight at 11 o'clock.
My life is coffee. I've sacrificed everything for coffee.
Now, that's 26-year-old Samantha Spillman. She's a barista at Sumner's Delano's Coffee Roasters, and she just took first place at the U.S. Barista Championships last month in Kansas City, Missouri. So now she's taking her skills to Boston to compete against more than 100 baristas at the World Coffee Championships. While her customers love her, she says she plans to give her competitors a run for their money.
I'm one of the most competitive people you will ever meet, and I just want to be the best at everything I do.
This sounds like a TV show to me, doesn't it? The world's best baristas. If Samantha wins, she'll become the first woman from the U.S. to take the title of Best Barista in the world.
We're cheering her on. Hey, some more big names in music coming to Moda Center. They just announced Khalid will be visiting the Rose City on his Free Spirit World Tour in July. Those tickets already go on sale this week on Friday. Khalid will be performing Monday night, July 1st.
If you're in downtown tomorrow, your lunch is free from Fuego, the beloved burrito cart celebrating its 21st birthday, National Burrito Day as well. They'll be giving away free burritos to hungry customers from 11 to 2. Specialty toppings, 25 cents a piece. Fuego has 7 food carts in the Portland metro area.
Wow.
You can find their locations on KOIN.com. And it'll be a wet burrito if you don't have an umbrella.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially tomorrow afternoon. Some big time showers on the way. Tomorrow's high 63 degrees. But on Friday, that's the soaker of a day, 54 and windy.
All right, everybody. CBS Evening News up next.